My name is Daniel. I am 70 years old. And this is the story of how I lost everything I built and how I took it all back. It begins with the sound of machines beeping. I spent 32 days in a hospital bed after collapsing at the grocery store. 32 days of tubes, nurses, and prayers whispered into sterile air. I thought the hardest part of my life was surviving that heart attack. I was wrong. The real heart attack came later, the moment I stepped back into my own home. When the hospital discharged me, I had one thing in mind: going home, sleeping in my own bed, feeling alive again. My son Mark picked me up. He looked nervous, too nervous. "Dad, the house had some changes," he muttered. "Changes?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just kept driving, gripping the steering wheel like it was saving his life. When we reached my neighborhood, something felt wrong immediately. My house, my little blue house that I spent 40 years paying for, was glowing with lights I didn't put up. There were cars I didn't recognize in the driveway. Children's bicycles that weren't my grandchildren's. Smell of food I never cooked. I stopped at the gate, confused. Mark exhaled sharply. "Dad, I need to tell you something." Before he could finish, the door flew open, and a woman I had never seen in my life shouted, "Who is this? Why is he here?" Behind her stood 3 men, beer bottles in hand, like they owned the place. Mark froze. My breath caught. Everything inside me went cold. I stepped inside and saw family photos removed, my furniture rearranged, my late wife Sarah's piano shoved into a corner like trash. I felt like I had walked into a robbery still in progress. Mark swallowed hard. "Dad, I didn't think you'd survive the hospital. They needed a place. I let them stay." I stared at him. "You gave them my home?" His wife, Emily, marched in with crossed arms. "It was empty. An MY family needed help. Your father is old. He doesn't need such a big space." Her mother added, "Besides, we've already moved in. You can't expect us to leave now." I felt something break inside me, not physically, but spiritually. My own son, my own blood, had handed my life to strangers, and they spoke to me like I was the intruder. For the next hour, I walked room to room. They had taken my bedroom, thrown away Sarah's clothes, broken my tools, painted over the handprints my kids made when they were little. Every memory erased. Emily tapped my shoulder smugly. "You can stay in the garage until we figure something out." The garage. I had just survived a heart attack. I was exhausted, but the humiliation burned hotter than my chest ever did. I walked out, not because I agreed, but because I didn't trust myself not to explode. Mark followed me outside. "Dad, please understand it was just practical." "Practical?" I whispered. "Giving away my home while I was unconscious?" He looked away. That's when I realized. He wasn't sorry. He was afraid. Afraid of losing Emily's approval. My own son had traded me for peace in his marriage. That night, I sat alone on a park bench, trembling in the winter cold, and made a promise. They may have taken my home. They will not take my dignity. And they will not keep what is mine. Revenge wasn't born that night. Justice was. First, I went silent. They thought I was weak, old, beaten. But silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. I stayed with an old neighbor, Mrs. Coleman, who nearly fainted when she heard what happened. "That house is in your name, Daniel. They can't do that." I knew that, and I knew the law, but I also knew something stronger, the power of the community, and the power of truth. I didn't rush. I watched, and little by little, their arrogance grew. Emily's family started telling neighbors the house was gifted to them. They threw loud parties, dumped trash everywhere, parked on lawns, shouted at children. People began whispering. Perfect. Then came the second stage, revealing the truth without ever raising my voice. I printed photos of the house from when Sarah and I lived there, the garden, the piano, the memories. I printed hospital documents showing my condition. I printed proof of ownership. I didn't confront them. No, I gave copies to neighbors, to the church, to the community center, to Mark's workplace, to Emily's workplace. I told them everything, not with anger, but with sadness, real sadness. And people listened, because betrayal at 70 hits differently. People feel it in their bones. Slowly, their friendly faces turned cold when Emily's family walked by. Whispers followed them. Judgment, disgust. The community they bragged to now saw them clearly. Then came the final stage. One morning, I returned with the police. The officer asked, "Who is the owner of this property?" I raised my hand. Emily's brother scoffed. "Actually, we live—" "You live illegally," the officer interrupted. "You were never tenants. You were never guests. You are trespassers." Emily screamed. Her mother cried. Her brothers yelled at Mark. And Mark, my son, looked at me like a little boy again, terrified of the consequences of his own choices. "Dad, please don't do this." "You did this," I told him quietly. I didn't shout. I didn't insult. I simply watched as the officers escorted them out. Boxes dumped on the lawn. Neighbors filming. People shaking their heads. Their reputation? Destroyed. By their own actions. That was not revenge. That was truth, finally uncovered. Mark stayed behind, trembling. "Dad, I'm so sorry," he whispered. I said nothing. Some wounds need silence. He cried, not because he lost the house, but because he lost my trust. And trust is harder to rebuild than any home. It has been 6 months. I live alone again. The house is quiet, but it is mine. I restored Sarah's piano, replanted the garden, put the family photos back. Mark visits sometimes. He's trying. I see the guilt in his eyes. But forgiveness is not a switch. It's a journey, a slow one. And as for Emily's family, the community never forgot. They moved away after the shame became too heavy. Actions have consequences, even delayed ones. So here's my final truth. You can survive a heart attack. You can survive betrayal. But the moment you stand up for yourself, that is when you truly come back to life. And I did come back to life. The day I returned home, I lost everything. But the day I took it back, I found myself again. My name is Daniel, and I am 70 years old enough to know this. Revenge isn't always fire. Sometimes it's simply letting the truth burn